Hey, it's Kurt at the Top Corner Hockey Studios, Top Corner Hockey on Facebook, Top Corner Kurt on Instagram. Thanks for watching. Over the last 100 years, the NHL has lost 25 team names, teams that have been filed under G. This is the fourth episode of my series on defunct NHL teams. Today we look at the Quebec Bulldogs. The Quebec Bulldogs go all the way back to 1886 in the Amateur Hockey Association of Canada. Although they were left out of the creation of the National Hockey Association in 1909, they did join the NHL's predecessor the following year. The Bulldogs were Stanley Cup champions in 1912 and repeated in 1913. Leading the Quebec Bulldogs was the greatest scoring champion of his day, Joe Malone. Malone joined the Bulldogs as a 19-year-old and was a legend for the 7 years Quebec played in the NHA. When the NHL was formed in 1917, Quebec was one of the first 5 teams. Although they were admitted into the league, they did not have the financing for that season and never played. All of their players, including Malone, were dispersed to other clubs. At last, in 1919, the Quebec Bulldogs were ready for action. Malone had returned from being loaned to the Montreal Canadiens, and he still proved to be one of the best. Malone scored 39 goals for Quebec, but the Bulldogs only won 4 games, the lowest win total in NHL history. Prior to the start of the 1920 season, a new owner moved Quebec and their whole operation to Hamilton and began functioning as the Tigers. So although the Quebec Bulldogs did start with the NHL in 1917, they only played one season, the 1919-1920 season. As I mentioned, just 4 wins. The Philadelphia Quakers would tie that dubious record with just 4 wins a few decades later. To give you a sense how dominant Joe Malone was during his day and what a sensational hockey player he was, he has the highest percentage of goals on a team in one season. 43% of the Quebec Bulldogs goals in 1919-1920 were scored by Malone. Like I said, 39 goals, 39 of the 91 goals his team scored, he scored them. That's remarkable stuff. The modern day record is a lot further from that. Pavel Bure scored 30% of the Florida Panthers goals in 2000-2001. Besides Joe Malone, there's not a whole lot of history to the Quebec Bulldogs, but Malone's history is quite significant. Would you consider him one of the best NHL players of all time? I don't think there's much question he was one of the earliest stars. Do you think anyone from the early seasons of the NHL would be a superstar in today's hockey game? Please continue to like and subscribe. I'm Kurt, this is Top Corner Hockey. Thanks for watching, see you next time.